Pregame.com.
Thursday night baseball, we've got the Tigers visiting the Red Sox. VR, this is going to be your pick, and setting this up for you. Detroit and Boston, this has to be two disappointed teams to be where they're at this point in the season, because they were both projected to be. Detroit was supposed to be a runaway winner in their division, and Boston was supposed to contend, and neither one of them's doing that right now.
No, you got Boston in last place in the American League East, but they're only 4.5 games back. So, I mean, we're not even at the All-Star break. There's plenty of time for that to change. And you look at Detroit, they're 4 games back, sitting in 3rd place. And when you look at the teams ahead of them, you know, their season's far from over this early on. But again, this is extremely disappointing for both, because coming into the season, they had acquired fielder. You know, Boston started off so bad last year,
right,
but coming down the stretch is a team that not too many teams wanted to face, you know, so coming into the season, you were expecting Boston to start off hot. Ironically, their opening season, the games, was against Detroit. They start the season off 0-3. Here we go again. And the one thing I like to look at, and I say this in every baseball video we do, is Baseball Prospectus puts out Pythagorean wins, meaning based on runs scored, runs allowed, what should the team's actual record be? And when you look at Boston's, there's over-under 0, meaning 24-24 is exactly where they should be based on runs scored and runs allowed. When you look at Detroit, they're 23-25 overall, but they're -1 over under Pythagorean wins, meaning they too should be a 500 team. So both these teams are pretty much doing what they should be based on statistics. The side that I like in this game, I'm not going to mess with either team. I'm going to go with the under here. I think although Boston's ERA, 28th in the league, WHIP, 25th in the league. They have very little quality starts this year. I think the pitching's starting to come around. And because of that, I could see this game going under. I think we're going to get some value, because when they play in Boston, you usually get some high totals. And in this case, we got 2 quality pitchers. If we could get 9 on the total, I'm going to go under.
Well, I'm going to support your theory here with taking the under. Beckett, ever since the incident,
the golfing,
you know, referring to the golf outing after a bad performance when he said he wasn't 100%, and then he was out golfing the next day, he's pitched 3 games lights out. So, you know, maybe that was the wake-up call, you know, he needed. And you think back to the end of last year, remember all the problems they had with the chicken and the beer in the clubhouse. Sounds like a team I want to play for.
Yeah.
Chicken and beer in the clubhouse. But he's pitching well. Scherzer for Detroit. This is a guy that's flying under the radar, because you look at his ERA, and it's not pretty. It's still in 5.
Right.
But if you look back at his starts, he had a horrible start in his first outing of the season, which actually happened to be against Boston. But since then, he has pitched very well. 5 of his last 6 games, he's given up 3 runs or less. Last 2 outings, he's gone 12 1/3 innings, 24 strikeouts in 12 1/3 innings. Now, the last outing, he only went 5 1/3. That's why he's only had 12 1/3 for the 2 outings. They had a rain delay in that game. They didn't bring him back out from the rain delay. So this guy's been pitching super well, and he's flying under the radar, which is going to give you value.
And that brings up a great point. When you look at starting pitching, because, you know, now we learn with all the sabermetrics, there's a lot of other statistical categories to look at, you know, to get more relevant data. With that said, when you look at raw ERA, you're looking at numbers that include the first, second, third start, and here we are 10 starts later for a lot of these guys. And when it's a experienced pitcher, I like to look at current form, because sometimes they get in their groove. And once they're in their groove, you want to ride them for 3, 4, 5 games, you know, because the experienced pitcher, a team comes to the clubhouse wanting to put some runs up for them. So you get some value with them because they have that high ERA based on what they did earlier in the season. And don't forget, we got some injuries going into this game. When you look at Detroit, Cabrera may lead in home runs, but it's Jackson who's getting it done in batting average and OPS, which is, you know, slugging percentage, the things that really matter. He's questionable, 15-day DL. You look at Boston, you got Crawford, Ellsbury, they've been gone all season. But now, Repko and Ross, 15-day DL. You got Pedroia, he's hurt with a hamstring, he'll be questionable. Got a lot of these bats that these teams depend on that just may not play come Thursday.
To add to your point about the pitchers in form, going in and out of form, I often refer to starting pitchers in Major League Baseball like I do horses, how they have form cycles, like you said. One of the best indicators for me to see if a pitcher's coming in or out of form is the strikeouts. If you got a pitcher that normally only throws 3 or 4 strikeouts a game, and all of a sudden has a game where he throws 6 or 7, that's a good indicator that that guy had good stuff, because he's faking out the hitters. He's, striking them out. So if he's going up on his strikeouts, that's the buy sign, so to speak, on that. Flip-flop, if a guy's 7, 8, 9 strikeouts a game and all of a sudden he only has 3 or 4, that's a good indicator that he's going to be maybe heading out of form. That's where you get a pitcher laying a price that may be going out of form, or you get a live underdog where somebody that's been undervalued.
That's key. And you take it a step further and you look at fly ball and ground ball. A guy like Derek Lowe, I watched his last game. Every out was in the outfield. He's a guy who has to keep the ball low, who gets ground ball outs. So you see a guy that's struggling like that, even if they win a game, know he's not, putting the ball where he wants to, and looking ahead, you want to fade those kind of spots.
Good stuff, VR. So your play officially here?
I'm going under. Give me 9 on this game, a key number. Remember, 7, 9, 11, the key numbers in baseball when you're betting totals. If we could get 9 here, even in Boston, I'll go under.
All right, there you have it. VR says take under Thursday night in the Boston-Detroit game in baseball. We're going to be right back. One more play. We're going Friday night baseball, Miami at Philadelphia. Right back here at pregame.tv.